It's not 100% the end on that, but it gives us something to work with. Hopping over to the Pubnico Fire, that's being held at, I'll correct my language there. It has not grown in the last 24 hours other than some small numbers, but we're keeping that at 163 hectares. We've got 15 natural resources and renewable staff on site there now. And again, there's been no significant growth in the last 24 hours on that fire. And we did manage to save 2 structures on that with some of our tactics. We stopped it within 8 inches of the structure from what the guys are telling me on the ground. The new fire yesterday, the Lake Road fire, jumped up pretty quick yesterday afternoon with the 15 high winds and low RH and high temperatures. That went up to 120 hectares yesterday. It is out of control. This morning, we are hitting it very hard and fast. We have 23 natural resource and renewable crews on site. We've already completed 1.2 kilometers of dozer guard around that, and they are continuing to work. And we've got 678 meters of wet line or hose deployed on that as well. We do have a resource for the Shelburne area of the water treatment supply. The lake just right in behind that, Rodney Lake, is the town of Shelburne's water supply. So we're taking caution there. We have to limit some of our tactics. We cannot use foam in there, but we are still hammering that area hard. So now that it's a complex, I'm just going to be giving you the list of large resources that we have on site, and because we're bouncing them around regularly between the 3 sites. We've got 7 dozers, 3 excavators, 4 feller bunchers. We still have our 2 CL415s out of Newfoundland. Those are the ones that land on the water and scoop. We still have cooperation from New Brunswick, and we have our 802 air tankers in and out regularly today. They're dropping foam retardant onto the fire in certain areas we can. We've got our 2 natural resources helicopters that were bouncing around all over the place today. And we've got 3 contract helicopters as well, one from Vision Air, one from Irving, and one from Breton Air that we're glad to have on site. We had to relocate our incident command post yesterday back to a safer location, so we're now working out of the Shelburne area. And we are working closely with EHS. They've got a great group down here keeping us safe and having evacuation and contingency plans for us in case anything goes bad. And we do have mental health professionals on site for any of our staff that are affected from the local area, or just any of our staff that require to talk to anybody. And I guess in total on the complex right now, we're sitting at 107 natural resources and renewable staff that are in total working on the ground and in the background for us. Back to you.
Thanks, Dave. Now we'll turn it over to Dave Steeves to give us an update on 10 Talent.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Today, unfortunately, our relative humidity is low and our temperatures are high, and that is giving way to some relatively extreme forest fire activity. It's all within the perimeter, which is a good thing, but our crews are busy chasing flare-ups and smokes. We are still concentrating on structure protection with our colleagues at RCMP Fire. We seem very successful at that. We've been working very closely with them since the very beginning, so we've developed a great working relationship. On the ground, we do have 40 DNR personnel, as well as 117 RCMP firefighters, 9 firefighters from the Department of National Defense, and 38 apparatus in total. Our air assets, we have 5 helicopters on scene and 1 CL415. Heavy equipment wise, we are looking at 1 dozer and 9 excavators, and currently they are building dozer brakes in areas of concern. So today, if we are fortunate enough to keep the winds from picking up too much, our operations section feels as though we have been successful to this part, but as I had mentioned earlier, we haven't hit those magic hours when the fires tend to pick up in the late afternoon, early evening. So we are just going to have to wait and see where the environment takes us for today.
Thanks for that, Dave. And now we'll check in for an update on weather with Bob Robichaud, our warning preparedness meteorologist. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Heather. Just before I get started in English, juste pour préciser que je vais donner l'information en anglais, mais si qu'il y a des questions en français, je peux prendre des questions en français. So weather-wise today, this is the day that we were worried about with the very high temperatures. As Dave mentioned, over the last few days, a condition we have called crossover, where the temperature in degrees Celsius is higher than the relative humidity in percent. We're seeing a number of locations where that is happening across the province today, not just in the location where the fires are right now, seeing temperatures that are up to well into the 30s over many areas. The highest temperature I saw just earlier was 35 degrees on the South Shore. So very, very dangerous fire weather conditions today. As we head into tonight, conditions will stay relatively warm. However, the relative humidity will start to increase as part of that diurnal cycle. Once we get into tomorrow, we're looking at cooler air mass moving in from the north. However, over southwestern parts of the province, it probably won't get there until late in the day. In terms of rainfall, which we really, really need right now, there could be some showers developing in the during the afternoon hours tomorrow, but we're not looking at any kind of significant rainfall, sustained rainfall until tomorrow night. Once we get into tomorrow night, into Saturday, there's a much, much higher likelihood that we're going to get the rain that we desperately need. In terms of air quality, again, as part of the diurnal cycle, the air quality is improving a little bit during the day. However, conditions tonight are expected to result in the air quality decreasing in the overnight and early hours of tomorrow morning. So that's a wrap up with the weather, Heather.
Thanks, Bob. We'll move along to Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Robert Strang. Go ahead, Dr. Strang.
Thanks, Heather. And just let me quickly offer my sincere condolences to Nova Scotians who have lost homes or have been evacuated. And a huge thank you as a Nova Scotian to the many, many first responders who are risking their own lives, protecting the rest of us. Let's all be smart and not add to their burden. I'm here today to talk, give some information about air quality and health. We know that there is no safe level of exposure to wildfire smoke. Everybody has some level of health risk, but this is higher for small children, women who are pregnant, the elderly, and people with underlying significant lung or heart conditions. It's clear that the amount of smoke will vary, or has been, and will continue to vary significantly across the province. And in any one location, it varies significantly throughout the day. So if there is wildfire smoke, and that means really when you can see and smell smoke, then the local air quality is being negatively impacted. And if you are in these situations, people should take steps to limit their outdoor activity, especially strenuous activity. And the more smoke there is, the more cautious people should be. And people in the higher risk groups should also be more cautious. And if you're living in the areas where there is wildfire smoke, you should also take steps to keep the indoor air as clean as possible. Keep your windows and doors closed as much as you can. If you have an air conditioner, you can run it, but keep the fresh air intake closed and the filter clean. Heat pumps are safe to use because they don't actually bring indoor or outdoor air into the home. And of course, if you need specific health advice, you can call 811. And if you feel you're in a medical emergency, you can call 911 and ask for immediate medical attention.
Thank you, Dr. Strang. And finally, we'll wrap this with Chief Superintendent Sue Black, Nova Scotia RCMP Criminal Operations Officer. And after Sue, we'll go into media Q&A. Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Heather, and good afternoon. Bonjour à tous. The RCMP's work alongside our partners to keep people safe and to support the firefighting efforts continues. In Shelburne County, our officers are assisting with the mandatory evacuations as they continue to grow in number. With the safety of all in mind, we're asking people to avoid traveling into Shelburne and Barrington areas unless necessary. Approximately 40% of residents in the county have been evacuated. Conditions are smoky and visibility is poor in many places. and a number of road closures are in effect, including parts of Highway 103. As I said yesterday, please visit 511 Nova Scotia for the latest road closures. La GRC poursuit son travail aux côtés de nos partenaires pour assurer la sécurité des personnes et soutenir les efforts de lutte contre les incendies. Dans le comté de Shelburne, nos agents participent aux évacuations obligatoires dont le nombre continue à augmenter. Pour la sécurité de tous, nous demandons aux gens d'éviter de se rendre dans les régions de Shelburne et de Barrington, sauf en cas de nécessité. Environ 40% des résidents du comté ont été évacués. Les conditions sont enfumées. La visibilité est mauvaise dans de nombreux endroits. Un certain nombre de fermetures de routes sont en vigueur, y compris certaines parties de la route 103. Veuillez consulter le site 511 Nouvelle-Écosse pour obtenir de l'information sur les dernières fermetures de route. For those who live in communities subject to mandatory evacuation orders, you must evacuate, and you can't return home until you're advised that it's safe to do so. Please remain patient. Fire crews and partner agencies are working as quickly as possible to get the fires contained and to get you home. Pour ceux qui vivent dans les communautés soumises à des ordres d'évacuation obligatoires, vous devez évacuer. Vous seriez informé quand vous pouvez rentrer chez vous, et ceci seulement quand les conditions sont sécuritaires. Votre patience est grandement appréciée. Les équipes de pompiers et les agences partenaires travaillent aussi vite que possible pour maîtriser les incendies pour vous permettre de rentrer chez vous aussitôt que possible. Notre travail aux côtés de nos partenaires pour assurer la sécurité des personnes et de soutenir les efforts de lutte contre les incendies se poursuit. Nous travaillons tous ensemble pour maîtriser les incendies le plus rapidement possible. Avant de terminer, je tiens à exprimer ma profonde gratitude à nos membres, nos équipes de pompiers et à tous les premiers intervenants qui travaillent aujourd'hui sous cette chaleur incroyable. S'il vous plaît, reposez-vous quand vous le pouvez, restez hydratés et veillez les uns sur les autres. Our work alongside our partners to keep people safe and to support the firefighting efforts continues. We're all working together to get the fires under control as soon as possible. I want to express deep appreciation to our members, fire crews, and all first responders who are working today in this incredible heat. Please get rest where you can, stay hydrated, and look after each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, everyone. We'll now take questions from media. We'll follow our one question, one follow-up format. And if you could indicate who your question is for, that would be helpful. We'll begin with Jen Taplin at the Herald. Go ahead, Jen.
Hi there. Mayor Savage mentioned two fires ongoing right now at the Wagon and Fall River. I believe he said they're human caused, and just wondering if there's anything more that can be done or is in the plans to be done to enforce the burning ban.
I'll go first. I would not be surprised if the Premier wanted to speak to this one. Look, the Premier increased the provincial fine on this. I'll just tell you, there's a very special gentleman here who's been working in fire for a long, long time, and he used to do a lot of calls on people who were burning when they shouldn't, and his first call of action was education. But that was yesterday, and we're into today. There is absolutely no reason for people to be burning, to be flicking cigarettes out of cars, and we had that yesterday, to be using a propane torch to burn leaves, to be having a bonfire. And we have said it's a zero tolerance policy. That's what we mean. The fines are significant and they will be applied. And these will be investigated very severely. So absolutely, it's no tolerance is no tolerance. This is, I mean, come on, people. Most people are doing such a good job through this whole time and offering to help. We don't need people who are out there endangering themselves and others.
Follow up, Jen?
I'm not sure who to address this to, but is there a concern about firefighter burnout? And I understand the news from Ottawa this morning about Canadian military personnel coming in is to help with that burnout situation. Just wondering if someone could address that and how the firefighters are doing.
Yeah, so I'll just offer, I checked in with with quite a few of them today, including the president of the union. Firefighters are tired, but they're happy to be tired. They're not happy to be, obviously see the destruction, but they're not worried, as we like to say, and they're happy doing their job, which is to save houses and people, and basically be out there to do their thing. Are they burnt out? The answer is no, from what I'm being told. In talking to the fire folks this morning, we still have lots of firefighters. There's 1,000 firefighters in HRM between career and volunteer, and there's only 100, just over 100 a day out on the fire ground for that cycle. So there's still lots and lots of depth in Halifax.
And if I could add to Erica's comments there with Tartan Natural Resources, kind of standard national deployments for wildland firefighting is 14 days on the travel on the fire line, and then a couple of days of travel on each end nationally. So we're about a week in for most folks that are out there. So they're used to this. They're planning for it. We are asking a lot of people to be out there in this heat and working hard. And similar to HRM, we're monitoring those day counts, and we're in the planning phase now of cycling people out. We know we're in this, for the Shelburne County fire particularly, but all these large fires, we're in this for the next, we're planning for 4 to 6 weeks. We hope it doesn't go that long, but we're in the planning phase of cycling people out so we don't burn them out.
Thanks for that. We'll move on to Jill Cormier with All Nova Scotia.
Hello there, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure who this question is for, but we're having a hard time kind of getting a sense of how many people are on the way. I wonder if someone could tell me how many people are coming from Canadian Forces and how many people are coming from Costa Rica and Montana, and if there's anyone coming from anywhere else. If we could just get those numbers and where they're coming from, that would be great. Thank you.
Who would like to take that?
I can speak to the wildland resources that are planned. So Department of Natural Resources has been working close with our Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center and the Northeast Forest Fire Protection Commission. So our two primary mutual aid agreements, that we have access to firefighters. So we actually had our Northwest Territories crew, our Department of Natural Resources group that was out in Northwest Territories. They arrived late last night. And then we're in trucks and heading to the fire this morning. There's 20 of them. And then we had almost another 20 Department of Natural Resources staff that we've been able to round out within our offices. People that typically aren't involved with the firefighting effort. They've got other jobs in the department, but they've got training. They meet the fitness standard. They put their hand up to help, and we've found jobs for them. So almost 40 more people on the road today heading down to Shelburne. Tomorrow, we got a group of Newfoundlanders arriving. So we've got 14 people coming on that one. So what I understand is they're going to arrive on the ferry early tomorrow morning, and they'll be in Shubenacadie for their in-province briefing and out to the fire line tomorrow afternoon. Just think what day is it? Okay, so Saturday, we've got a crew of firefighters coming up from the Northeast states. So there's going to be 17 in that group. And Monday, we'll have another follow-up group from the Northeast states of another 18 crew. The group of Costa Ricans, we're just working on the details. The Premier mentioned that. It's still not clear whether we can get 40 or 60. Obviously, we're going to try to get as many as we can. That's a unique arrangement we have with the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center, having access to these international folks. And so there's a little bit more work and planning in getting that in place, but it's going to line up very well with our cycling plan when people are going to need a break next week, that we're going to have this group. And then we're working closely with the municipality. And as the Premier mentioned, we're going to be working on engaging volunteers, and just putting the formalities in place, and hopefully get a big wave of people within the next week to 2 weeks to help us when we get to the point where we're going to try to fully extinguish all these fires. Right now, we're still working on containment. So that's what's in the near future. And the resourcing doesn't stop. This is what we're doing all day. We're looking for people. We're assessing all the offers for help from every level of government. And I can tell you, we can see the results of all that support, and we're really feeling it, and we really appreciate it.
Jill, do you have a follow-up?
Could I speak to that?
Yeah.
Heather, could I just speak to that first? Yeah, I just want to say a lot of force, local fire departments are sending stuff to Halifax. I won't even list them all, but I got to say that when the mayor of Halifax sees a picture of a fire truck from New London PEI coming to our help, boy, it gets you. That's what's special about this part of the world.
Thank you. Jill, do you have a follow-up?
Yes. Were there firefighters coming from South Africa, or was that just to Alberta? Just wanted to confirm that.
There's no plans for firefighters from South Africa for Nova Scotia. From what I understand, they are in Canada and in Alberta, as well as there are also folks from Australia, New Zealand, as well as the U.S. out in the West, but there's no plans for them to come here at this time.
Moving on, we'll go to Blair Rhodes with CBC. Go ahead, Blair. We'll come back to Blair. Moving on, we'll go to Mitchell Bailey with Global.
Yeah, my question is for Premier Houston. Going back to the province-wide bans, have any fines been issued at all for people traveling or conducting activities in the woods? And if so, is there a number that could be provided?
Hi, Mitchell. I'm not aware of any fines yet, but I just want to speak to the province-wide burn ban and the travel restrictions. Obviously, those were asks that we had from the people on the front lines fighting the fires. They asked us if we could do these types of things to support them. We are happy to do it to support them, and we just need Nova Scotians to really understand the how volatile the situation is in our province with the dryness, with the conditions in the forest and elsewhere. So obviously we've had a couple of days of those bans not being respected, but we need those bans to be respected, and fines are necessary, as the mayor said. They will certainly be levied for sure. We have to do everything we can to mitigate the risk. Look at the situation here right now.
Mitchell, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, my next question was for Dave Rockwood. I was wondering if I could get an update regarding the status of the fire near Lake Road in Shelburne. Has there been any damage to homes or structures in that area so far?
No, at this point, from my understanding, it's just the threatened infrastructure for the town water supply. But that this morning was up and running, and they were able to start it remotely. So and we're in constant communication with those groups. So no, at this time, no structure lost.
Great. Circling back to Blair Rhodes. Blair, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, a little bit of technology problem here. I'm not sure who could answer this, but there's apparently a video circulating on social media that suggests that at least one of the fires in the Shelburne area was set by a stunt, somebody setting a tire on fire and rolling it down the hill. I was wondering whether anybody could respond to that and whether the people responsible have been found and whether any charges might result.
I'll chime in here. So we do have a new start this week that is under investigation, just as all of our fires are under investigation. And at this time, we wouldn't comment on specifics on how they started.
Blair, do you have a follow-up?
Is there any suggestion that there has been sort of reckless behavior in that vein that is causing any of these fires?
I think we can match the Premier and Mayor Mike that there is reckless behavior that's going on. I can't comment on specifics on these fires. I'm here to put them out, and we have an enforcement branch as well as the RCMP and our fire investigation specialists, which deal with the investigation. Our sides, we're here to put it out.
Moving along, we'll go to Vanessa Wright with Global. Go ahead, Vanessa. Vanessa, can you hear me? We'll circle back to Vanessa. Moving along, we'll go to Joe Thompson with Acadia Broadcasting. Joe? Can people hear me? Joe Thompson? Moving along, we'll go to Tim Biscay with the Halifax Examiner. Tim?
Hi, good afternoon. I think you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Great. I guess my question is for the Premier and possibly the Mayor. There's an awful, obviously 16,000, a few less now, people evacuated. I don't know that there's any assessment on where exactly they went, but we're getting reports of price gouging at local hotels. And are you in a position to assess that or do anything about it?
Thanks, Tim. I've certainly heard those types of rumors, but we haven't been able to confirm them. But just want to remind people that accommodations, food, safety for those that have been evacuated is a concern. It's a primary concern for sure. So the comfort centers exist. There's a number of other initiatives that have been implemented to try to support people through this time. Many people, fortunately, I think, have been able to find safety and shelter with friends and family, maybe in other parts of the province. But I have no confirmation of that. I've heard it, but I haven't confirmed it.
I see Mayor Savage has his hand up. Mayor, do you have something to add?
I would just like to say that the folks at Discover Halifax, in the case of Halifax, have been very helpful. Ross Jefferson has been reaching out all week. I know Erica has had conversations with him as well. The folks at the Hotel Association as well. There have been some events that were scheduled for this weekend that have been canceled. And what the major reason is that we do need hotel rooms for people who are in devastated circumstances. So I do want to thank the folks in the tourism industry who are trying to help us with this situation. Thank you.
Tim, do you have a follow-up question?
I do. I recognize that, of course, the immediate concern is fighting the fires and taking care of refugees and evacuees right now. Speaking with some of the evacuated people, that, however, they have real concerns about the long term. Their houses may be gone, and they fear that even in the best of situations, it could take 2 or 3 years, given the tight building situation, contractors right now to rebuild. Will there be any sort of provincial or municipal strategy for helping those folks in the meanwhile?
Yes, there will be. The housing situation in across the province is a major concern for sure. One of the asks of the federal government was for some cooperation and support with the modulars. So we'll definitely need some short-term planning and medium term and even over the long term for sure. That the mark on our province from these fires is going to last for quite some time. But there's a lot of work to do on that. But there's a lot of compassionate people focused on that.
Could I say, Heather, too, in response to Tim's question, I appreciated last night to have a conversation with John Lohr, who is, of course, Minister of Housing as well as Municipal Affairs, and he and some of his officials are working on ideas, and we're going to be working on this together.
Great, thank you, Mayor Savage. I'll just circle back with the two outlets that may have been having some mute problems. Vanessa Wright with Global. Vanessa, are you there? Okay, one final check-in with Joe Thompson at Acadia Broadcasting. Joe?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead with your question, Joe.
My question is for Mayor Savage in regards to the fire in Fall River that popped up this afternoon. I'm wondering if you have more information on the size of the fire, whether or not it's under control, and if it's related to any of the other larger fires in the area.
I'm going to let Erica Fleck speak to that.
So my information is about 15 minutes old now, but just before I came in, I can't say it was under control, but I can't say it's out of control either. It was very early stages in the Miller Lake area. But I do know that we had equipment on scene, obviously, immediately, and they were that down quite quickly. And since I came in here, another fire has popped up. So we're up to 3 other fires right now, besides those ongoing in the initial areas.
Joe, do you have a follow-up?
I do, and it might be for Mayor Savage again, or perhaps Premier Houston, but I'm wondering last night the evacuation notice for Indigo Shores was lifted, and I noticed that there's only one access road in and out of that area. I'm wondering, with the current state of the volatility of the fires, should they have to evacuate that zone again, how will they be able to get in and out in a timely manner with just one evacuation road?
You want to go first, Premier? Okay. I will ask. Go ahead,
I can, but I was just going to say, just to speak generally to it, I think the evacuations that we've had across the province, if you think about it, almost 20,000 people evacuated. And some of those in very, very quick order. A knock on the door, you have to get out of your house in 3 minutes. So it's remarkable how smooth and professional that evacuation process has been throughout the province. And I think, as has been noted, what we have with the number of fires, number of out of control fires in the province, the number of people evacuated, 0 deaths reported, 0 missing persons, 0 serious injuries. I think that speaks to the professionalism of the team that's on the ground making this happen. So I don't know specifically in that situation, but what I would say is I have great confidence in the people who are deciding on these evacuation orders, and the people who are executing the evacuation orders, and have great confidence when it's time to lift those evacuation orders that's appropriate as well. So I have great confidence in the process and the team.
And if I could just add on to the Premier and ask Erica to speak very briefly to this. I've had the honor of being in this EOC on a number of occasions, and when decisions are made to order an evacuation or to lift an evacuation, there's an awful lot of thought that goes into it. We have Superintendent Christie of the RCMP, we have Erica, we have the fire folks, other police folks, we have our Parks and Rec folks, we have all kinds of people who are involved, and getting in and out is a key part of evacuation. So Erica, do you want to speak specifically then to what happened last night when the alert went out?
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So anytime we look at both evacuation and reentry, of course, having one egress route is never ideal, but we also look at we do a risk assessment each time. So with the Indigo Shores, looking at, there's 482 homes in there. And if we had to evacuate again, again, as the mayor said, we work closely with both HRP and RCMP. Do we have to close down the roads? How do we get 482 houses, re-evacuated to come out? And we do have a plan for that at all times. So again, each area that's opened or closed, we do go in eyes wide open with a good solid plan each time.
Well, that concludes our media Q&A portion. If there are any final remarks from either the Premier or Mayor, if not, then we'll conclude. Looks like both are satisfied. So I thank you very much for participating today, and everyone stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Be safe.